Ready? Right, welcome everyone. Will the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of November 16th, 2023, please come to order. We have 3 public hearings tonight and a continuing deliberation. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to review the process for public hearings in the current hybrid format of our meetings. During the public hearing, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explaining to the commission and others present what is being requested. The applicant or staff will share all application materials on the screens as needed. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any, and there will be clarifying questions from the commissioners. Then there will be an opportunity for clarifying questions from attendees. For Zoom attendees, please raise your hand through the Zoom platform and wait to be called on and unmuted. As this public hearing must be recorded, attendees will state their names and addresses before asking their questions. Next, those who wish to support the application may come forward, and then those who oppose the application may come forward. Sometimes we combine those to speed up the process. Again, it is necessary for speakers to identify themselves each time they speak by stating their name and address, given that this is being recorded. The applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or commissioners. Once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the balance of the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has a right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Land Use Department at 203-245-5631 after 9 a.m. All actions taken tonight by the commission will be by roll call. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are members John Duza, Bob Reinhardt, Janet Peckinpah, Mike Bugda, John Morgan, and on Zoom we have Jeff Downs joining us. Can't see him, but he's there. And myself, Carol Snow, chair. I would like to seat Mike Bugda to fill a vacancy. Nice to meet you. Jeff Downs, if you can hear us, I don't think you were here for the October meeting. So unless you've watched it.
No, I was not.
Okay, so feel free to watch, but I don't know if you'll be able to participate this evening in hearings that were continued or that were started then. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks. Staff present this evening is Aaron Mannix, town planner. This meeting is live streamed on YouTube and will be made available on the town website for viewing. Additionally, I would like to ask that we treat each other respectfully throughout the meeting, and the town planner will now read any legal notices.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Notice is hereby given that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 16th, 2023 at 7 o'clock in Meeting Room A, Town Campus, 8 Campus Drive, Madison, Connecticut, 06443. This is a hybrid meeting and attendees may also join via Zoom webinar through either a webinar link or call in information below. Webinar ID is 915-8196-6735. And the passcode is 452138. The following applications will be heard: 23-49, 251 Boston Post Road, map 35, lot 53, zone R1, owner My Four Boys LLC. Applicant is Thomas A. Stevens and Associates. It's petition for zone boundary change, planned development district per section 32 to convert club into restaurant with residential unit above, with associated site improvements. Copies of this application are available for inspection in the land use office. Further details on how to participate in the webinar are posted on the Town of Madison website, www.madisonct.org. All written correspondence can be submitted to the Land Use Department via email to landuse@madisonct.org. Dial 203-245-5631 for assistance. Dated at Madison, Connecticut, this 23rd day of October 2023, Carol Snow, chair. This was published once in the source on November 2nd, 2023, and once on November 9th, 2023. And Madam Chair, as you know, we have 2 continuations of public hearings from last month, which did not require re-advertisement.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. First agenda item then is 23-43, 916 Boston Post Road, map 39, lot 3 and 4, zone R2. The owner applicant is the General's Residences of Fence Creek Homeowners Association. special exception permit modification and coastal site plan, which is to remove a public access proposed viewing area. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
I'll start the motion.
Mike, second. Janet, any further discussion? There you go. So this is a continuation of a public hearing. We had a site visit between our last meeting and this one. And I'd like to encourage just new questions. If anyone has new questions from the public.
We do have a list of 5 individuals who signed up to speak.
Okay.
And we have one with their hand raised virtually. So would you?
Okay, great. So
I would be okay to say something first if that's okay. Okay, so Cindy Gardner, 916 Boston Post Road. So I know you guys came and got our updated.
Excuse me, Cindy, can I
Yes.
give you the microphone?
yeah,
just
sure.
So folks remotely
Do you want
can
to
hear.
stand somewhere separate or sit?
Um,
Is it okay if I sit or-
the camera can see you fine, actually, from there.
Here?
So, yeah,
Okay.
you're fine.
All right, so we provided you all with our updated invasive species management plan, which meant that we wanted to make the view a much larger view and work with our neighbors and take cleaning up Fence Creek. And I reached out to Madison Conservation Land Trust and asked them if this was an okay thing, we'd be willing to take care of the management there. We would love to work with them if allowed. So that seems like a good suggestion. As far as the alternate suggestion for a placement, you came out and saw John Cunningham had painted a different area and I staked it so that it would be easier to see. And although it, appeals to us more in terms of privacy and security and safety that's farther away, we still felt is really not a good placement for it and would really like to ask that shape of 525 square feet was what we thought, and it was a lot closer to our door and our windows and really affects us with our daily life. And the smaller area from 979 square feet to 525 is a big deal. And we also like the idea that a Madison resident raised the last time we were here that said to take the allocated funds for it that were bonded with the town and use it for something that's really good in the community, like the Green Trail or the Madison Conservation Land Trust. We as homeowners too feel like we would love to help with that too. So we're very much in favor of helping with the Madison Land Trust and the Green Trail, and just really request the removal of the area to congregate on our private property, so close to our home. So thank you.
thanks for that new information.
Now who to pass it to next?
Anyone else in here?
Can we ask questions? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
How, do we know how much has been set aside for the construction of that?
I do not know how much did, Aaron, do you know
The
how much
cost,
is set aside?
Don't have the breakdown. I have it in a paper copy. I don't have that off the top of my head, what the estimated cost.
So it was bonded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, all the outstanding site improvements were bonded by the developer for completion. I guess, and just to clarify, Cindy, a revised proposal for invasive management, I don't recall seeing that, so
I don't either.
I was a little confused by.
Oh, I sent it in through your portal. I have copies though that we have mine.
Sure, you can share it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we sent it in through the same email system that we've been doing so far. Sorry about that. Yeah, is there any other? Is there anyone else that wants to go? I will definitely, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you didn't have it. I thought that everything had went through. I know last time some letters didn't get through too. I should have checked to see that it went up on public record.
So, okay, so I guess from,
So I can explain what it was then, and if.
Yeah, that
absence of
and
having
then
it Right now.
and the location, Cindy, I think the
Yeah.
question was, the approved site plan showed sort of this teardrop shaped viewing area within an easement.
Yes.
And that, I know it wasn't staked by a licensed land surveyor on site, but it didn't seem to resemble that.
Exactly,
Shape.
right.
So are you proposing, I guess
So
I'm
what-
just confused by what.
And I'm sorry, I didn't know that you didn't have that. I wish I had even known when we came out. So we were proposing that we would have mowing of all the Phragmites and the knotweed in our property, our whole extensive area, so that you would have a view. But I reached out to the Madison Conservation Land Trust and asked them if we were allowed, would you be willing for me, and they were very excited about the prospect of it because they didn't have the funds to do this, and they think that the invasives are harming the marsh. And so they were very much in favor of it. And so if you were accepting this as extending the view, we also talked to the neighbors on the other side of Boston Post Road because the Phragmites grow under the road, and they were willing to manage that. It would be sort of a sweeping attempt to remediate the growth. It's gotten so dense in the 2 years that we've lived in this house that we feel we can really manage the invasive species that block the view to the creek. Because otherwise, you really just have a view of all the marsh, the
So what
tall weeds.
percentage of the Phragmite we saw this past weekend? How far does that encompass your property?
So, Michael, if I don't mind,
Go ahead.
because if you saw the little bushwhacking exercise that went on, that was me. So I just went out with a sai and a machete, and I just wanted to punch through to the marsh. So the knotweed and the Phragmite, which starts on our property, the closer you get to the road, the deeper the Phragmite goes.
Sure.
But clearly, the Phragmite does extend beyond our property line, which was Cindy's point in
Well,
contacting.
there was a walkway path that went out.
Yeah, okay, so the end of that path, because I stopped at the water, and it felt a little Lewis and Clarky, but I was on land conservation property when I got to the water. So, John Cunningham came out and marked that spot, and I think he was trying to do us a favor by making it as far from our house. We know that we were there to answer questions when you came out, but if you look at the viewing area on the map, it's 15 paces from our house. So it just, and by the way, Adam and John built his beautiful homes, which are mostly window on the marsh. And so you just, you've heard it, but that's what we're kind of,
Would you
Nervous
agree
about
that what we saw on Saturday, that's on your property, is more than half of the Phragmite that we saw?
no, I bet it would be, I bet more than half
Right.
is on our property.
That's what my guess is.
But by the way, that if you did go out, if you did the Lewis and Clark, there's another sort of island of
Yeah,
Phragmite,
yeah.
We
that's
saw.
growing deeper out, so, yeah. We,
Actually, that's a good
And
photo
you can
because it
see
shows
this
sort of an
is that-
island that of clog before
So-
the.
Yeah, so here's our property line where we staked it way down on the road, and this is where the thickest area is,
Yeah.
Right.
That's
but there
right.
is some there.
There is some here and then
Right.
there's some over here too.
Correct. I remember you and I walked down. that.
Yeah. And I have kayaked up there too, so I know. Yeah, you can still, at high tide, you can get all the way up, yeah.
In the,
Erin, I have a question though, a technical question about the fee in lieu option, which sounds great. We agree it would be great to use that, but is that even an option when we have a,
I have not heard of that as an option.
yeah. may not be
Towards
an option
other
to
things.
transfer something that was, bonded and a condition of approval of the
Right.
application
It was designated for a purpose.
designated for a specific purpose. I'm not sure we have the authority to say, oh, sure, go ahead and redistribute it, but,
There,
Who did you speak to, Cindy, that said you could do that? Someone told you could do that?
No, they
Yes.
No, it was just,
No, no.
oh.
They suggested that it would be
Yeah.
wonderful if you could do it.
Yeah,
I think
somebody
it was Laura
suggested.
Downs who
Was it?
suggested, yeah.
So are you proposing then to remediate the Phragmites and make the donation to the whatever land trust or?
sure.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
But you have a deeded obligation to clear it today. Is that
We're
correct?
just trying to
That's
extend the,
I mean, all the owners have a deeded obligation.
right, in our, we know that, but we're saying extend it, if you would let us.
Do it all the way to the,
Yes.
to the marsh, to the actual water.
Correct, that's correct.
I think our stance is,
But
if we cleared
if
all
we-
the Phragmites from our land, it wouldn't go through to the inside.
yeah, Mr. Rafferty, let's just maintain our order as
So we're
far
not
as.
interrupting and cutting in.
Can I say something? Or-
I think there were other people maybe who were waiting to speak first, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm what Mike Bugda indicated, that yes, in addition to installing the public viewing area, there is a requirement as part of the condition to maintain that view in perpetuity. So
Clear
that
the
requirement
invasives.
to maintain those invasives to the prop is,
But to their property line.
sure, they wouldn't have permission unless the land trust gave them permission to go onto their.
That's what I was trying to offer, that they, in my suggesting it to them, they were in favor of it. And so we're saying, I would like to be able to say, we can clear more than just our land.
In lieu of installing
Yes.
the viewing area.
Yes,
So driving by, you can see it.
exactly. So to anyone on the sidewalk, walking by, to bikers, to drivers, in either direction, we would be
Kayakers.
opening up the marsh for a view to everyone.
Jen, sure, the land trust would entertain
They were-
regardless of whether or not there's a viewing platform on the property.
They were very excited by it.
Is the original developer is no longer associated with anything in the property today, is that correct?
Correct.
The original approval,
Yeah, he's no longer associated with any of it.
so there was an original approval with Bill Plunkett, who had that approved, and then it was amended and modified. And that was the Adam Greenberg and his partner, who are the developers of this current development. And yes, and so they have the bond in place and the arrangement to complete the improvements on the property.
The funds that are bonded, if they're not used, who do they go to?
Well, the financial guarantee is this is in lieu of installing them at the
No, I
time
know,
of
but-
CO. So if the improvements are not installed, then the planning and zoning has, the commission has the authority to call the bond and have the improvements done with that money.
Right, so it's.
That's what it's
but
intended for.
If,
We reject it. You're saying we're.
yeah, so there's money that's bonded. If we decide to support the request and not do the viewing site, there's funds that are in escrow essentially.
Those
Right?
would be returned to the developer.
Okay, so the developer still has a financial interest in this.
Yes.
Okay. I don't need other-
Would it go back to the HOA?
The HOA did not write the check for the financial guarantee.
Just a reminder that this was a condition for approval. of the
Right.
application.
Originally, correct.
So I didn't get a chance to go on the blog, apologize for that. So the current proposal then is to continue the elimination of the viewing area, but expand the invasive species management to extend into the Madison Land Trust property, basically making it bigger and bigger view. Keep the sidewalk, that's gonna be installed, and then if we can understand how, use the funds that were going to be used for the view, transfer it or give the Madison Land Trust or some other.
Or to the
land-
green trail,
Yeah, green
whichever.
property acquisition. Okay. That's the current, as far as I understand, that's what the current,
As of today, that has amended from the
Right.
original
Proposal.
approval, the original request.
right, okay.
That is my understanding. However,
My friend found my response to you that I'm sorry I didn't get to. If you wanted me to read it, I can, but if you now are fully up to
Yeah, we're good.
date
got
with it, okay.
That's good information, thank you.
Cindy, just,
Yes.
do you have anything in writing from the land trust about an arrangement on there? Or this was
No.
just a verbal?
It was just a verbal.
Okay.
That I would confirm anything, and let you know, but they were just excited. They want to
Of course.
clean it up. So they were very excited for someone to jump on that.
The other thing we haven't seen yet too is what the design of the platform or the viewing platform would be. So we're kind of speaking here about the proposed viewing platform, but it's not, we haven't seen any drawings or
Feeling
plans or.
angst with that. We haven't seen anything about it
Yeah.
either. So we're
Yeah.
hoping that we don't ever have to see it and that you remove it from us and we look more at the view and the creek.
So
Would it make sense for, get written approval from the conservation? We do some
Yeah, that's,
understanding of how we can move this money, if we can move
if we,
this money.
I,
I think to me, that's a win-win.
that's not up to the land trust or,
That's,
I-
that's
no,
the
no,
problem.
No, permission from the land trust in writing to allow them to go on their property to their
Yes,
mighty.
to the Phragmites.
and the other thing I would love to see
Go
is
from
just
vertical to
even a sketch from maybe from the landscape architect about what the platform might look like. I mean, we've talked about maybe it's just a bench and, with some screening. And I think what you staked out that we saw on the site and the site walk was helpful, but I'm not sure it was the exact location. And then, again, if we get into, if we get into modifying the condition that the application was approved on, based on, again, it would require, I think, more time. Erin, we have more time to extend the public hearing?
so
I
if.
mean, how do
if-
you all feel about that? That we feel like we could really benefit from more information?
Well,
I think
we
that-
have enough to make a decision if we wanted to
It
tonight.
would be tough, yeah. We have a hand raised from, I believe, the developer. Go ahead.
Adam Greenberg, I'm one of the developers on the project, and if it helps you, Aaron, this is obviously just out of turn with what your abilities are to move money. But I would be willing with John to, if the money was returned because the elimination decision was made, to then donate that back to whatever, wherever you want it. So to just make that easy for you guys, again, if that were to be the case and one of the conditions would be you would like to see that happen, we're more than willing to help that scenario. So I just want to point that out.
The other thing I also wanted to point out, maybe it's obvious, but there was a parking spot planned originally, I think, and that's been removed.
Yeah.
So there were issues raised about parking and dangers and, pulling off on the side of Route 1 made no sense whatsoever. So parking would have to be like at Vermont Lane, or maybe, I've talked about the Audubon shop, how this could be a perfect viewing platform for birders walking over from Audubon shop.
They still can come over.
And now we have a better sense too of what the sidewalk is.
They'll
gonna
see
look like.
more, there'll be more
Do we have
wildlife.
Timing of when the sidewalk will be happening?
DOT did the. No, but I think
I could speak on that too. So we just got the, you want to say?
You have a copy of the
Good
plan.
evening, everybody here.
Chuck Mandel, we just got approvals from DOT
DOT.
for the sidewalk, so he can build it tomorrow.
Because I think another
So-
thought I
Yes.
had was if it's a sort of phased project too.
This is a project that's trying to be completed, unphased and completed.
Yeah.
As as approved, and was the initial intent here. There is a site plan that is approved, and I can share that on the screen so that you can see what was approved by the commission. I think we shared this at the last meeting, but this is a paver area with a bench, and it's a passive, there is not a parking area. I don't believe the intent was necessarily a destination, but an opportunity for folks, namely pedestrians, walking down the road, in the area. This cluster development was at the edge of the downtown area. And the sidewalk connection is intended to both bring the residents of the development to that area and to begin to have connections on the post road.
And we have sidewalks
So that's,
continuing up Scotland Avenue in the near future as well, I believe.
that's correct.
Yeah.
So that's really the intent of the sidewalk in front of the property. There is, this specific plan does not show the meets and bounds of the actual easement area, which is likely larger than the viewing area, namely so that for maintenance and installation, you can get in there within the easement without going on the adjacent property. But this is the location of the sidewalk, and my understanding is that the sidewalk is going to be terminated.
At the guardrail.
I
think well before.
Actually, this may be that stone
The stone
landing.
when we were
In
there.
the documents that was sent out, there's a pretty good drawing of the sidewalk.
So, yes,
Yeah.
I did send a copy or uploaded that copy of the DOT plan, but the walkway will connect directly to the sidewalk, the viewing area. That is the intent. When standing out there, I know the commissioners noticed that there were a couple of trees, multi
And shrubs.
stem
Yeah.
trees that were there. Those are not necessarily identified on this plan, which I think raised the question of, is there flexibility in having some type of viewing area here and leaving some of the existing vegetation? In order for you to see that more clearly, I think you would need the surveyor to identify where those trees are on the property, and the landscaping. We had also mentioned opportunity last time at the suggestion of Deep, that there were, not necessarily the specific suggestion of Deep, I should say. It was in the fact sheet from Deep that you can, in your signage for viewing areas, have
A
some time frame, dawn to dusk, things like that. That language is currently not in the easement. So there's the ability to also amend the easement for that, or even amend the site plan. This is a site plan modification that you're here before the commission as well, that I guess depending on the direction of where the commission is leaning, you could ask for alternatives or perhaps a changed shape that might be more agreeable to the residents now that the homes are built, or perhaps opportunity for additional screening. I think I'm looking at that
It
as
wasn't clear where
compromise.
riparian buffers have been done. I don't know if they've been done yet. And
Yes.
Yes. There's a riparian buffer that kind of follows that sort of black.
is it
This is the silt
brighter
fence
green
line,
Black line.
roughly.
In
Oh, okay.
front of the silt fence, that black line, there's a strip and it stops at that weeping willow tree that you saw, which would basically block that light bulb shape. The weeping willow tree is right on the other side of it.
But the riparian buffer stopped short of where you guys were standing.
Right,
You could
right.
see the knotweed just overgrew it. I mean,
Yeah.
what you were standing on was 6, 7 foot tall knotweed, behind of which was the 14-foot Phragmite.
Right.
So the riparian buffer kind of runs down the face of the property. And by the way, if you look at it, it's already being overgrown. The Phragmites hopped the barrier. But yeah, there is a riparian buffer but not up near the street where you were standing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, John, do you say any thoughts, comments?
I think we should get a sense of where the commission is leaning before we stretch this out further.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
I like that.
How are you guys?
It's exciting. I can tell you.
It sounds like there's a general agreement, but not complete agreement, that fee in lieu of viewing area might be the best way forward here.
I'm leaning towards like removal of the public access altogether. But
I like the proposal that was put forward, taking the extent, the additional Phragmites invasive species management. So you get actually a broader
Opening up
view,
the whole
opening up
driving
so
by,
you see it actually on the sidewalk, you'll see it
Even
across.
going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
45.
45.
Go over to
45.
the,
Really, you could gun it from that light.
you go to the Audubon shop, you can use their binoculars to look at it.
And there's a sidewalk
And
there.
there's a sidewalk there now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, the idea is that we're gonna try to connect everything. You created now a nice part of the connection.
Yeah, I think what's holding me back is that it was important to Deep that this was a condition. And
For a reason.
for a reason, yeah, that, the water access and management, coastal area management, and you're right on a tidal wetlands, so this was part of the condition of allowing the development to go forward. So that's part of what's holding me back. I do like the fee in lieu, so we would need to find out about that, I think, before we could make a decision.
I agree with that, and I'm also leaning you the way you're leaning.
Yeah. Keeping track for us, Aaron. John Morgan?
I like the proposal with the additional Phragmites and the fee in lieu.
How do we
That's the way to
enforce
go.
that?
Well, that's a very good question. There is not a proposal in front of you
So we
for
need-
invasive
we- we
species
need a
management.
quote, I understand.
So
Yeah.
that's just
Well, that's
sort of a
what there was.
statement.
I thought there was an email that
So-
was sent that you didn't receive.
Yeah, apparently you didn't get
We-
it.
we-
There's a management plan and
We have quotes, we
a
have.
Codes of
Yeah.
landscapers
timeframe.
that we go in
Yeah,
and
that's-
mow it.
so that's something that if the commission is interested in entertaining, should be reviewed.
Okay.
Correct.
And
Chairperson, the view that you'll have is significantly better than what was there. So it's all, isn't there an argument that it's already improved? I know that you, I'm not whining like this isn't fair. I don't think it's right in that when we bought into the property, we looked at a public offering statement. I didn't go to town hall and dig through the maps to see the viewing area, but I understood it very differently from what I now understand my responsibility is, and I'm the one that cares the most because I'm the one sitting on it.
Right.
But there were the shape, the size, the construction, the maintenance of, the liability for, everybody underestimated the riparian buffer and the invasive nature of the knotweed and the Phragmites, which was never controlled before we got there, and we're promising to do that, so.
So I
hope-
think we need a full proposal in writing with backup documentation from the Madison Land Conservation Trust. Aaron, what else do we need?
Who can write that?
And also just legal, should we check with legal counsel about the fee in lieu arrangement?
if you would like me to.
That would be good.
And
Sin-
I guess my question is, what are your question, can you accept a fee in lieu of? I mean, this is, the public,
Can we
the
change
public
condition?
viewing.
Area.
You have the authority to change the conditions of your approval. You are the governing body who required this public viewing area for consistency with the coastal act, and I went through that and the Coastal Management Act and the review comments from DEEP from the time of approval. And that's on the record in your staff report. I did not write an additional staff report for this particular
This
meeting,
other,
right?
Aaron, then
So that,
would we go back to DEEP and,
Just gonna say.
and, almost reapply with this new proposal of?
this is not within DEEP's jurisdiction. However, this is your jurisdiction to, in making local coastal, reviews and approvals of coastal site plans. I have heard from DEEP, since your first meeting, inquiring, on the status of this review and, reminding me that the commissioner has the authority to appeal the commission's decision to the Attorney General, if you blatantly
Disregard the previous.
disregard the coastal
That's part of
area
what's
management
hanging us
act.
up. Yeah.
But we're not blatant. I mean,
Yeah.
there's gonna provide a view of the,
And better management of.
Well, I don't know what that,
well, and that's why,
I don't know how that is
assuming we can
protected.
get.
When you have
There's a lot of unknowns.
when you have a deeded public access and requirements and maintenance responsibilities in perpetuity on the land records, that's a protection. When you have a public sidewalk and a promise to remove invasive species on your property and an adjacent property, that's not something that you can protect.
Right, but.
So that would need to come to you in some more,
A more formal proposal.
Yeah.
yes, you need more specifics to be able
One
to
more.
make a decision on that change.
Sure, no, behind you.
Hi, I'm Amy Macy and I'm at 1 East Fourth Road. So I do not have water views. I live in the general's residence, but I don't have water views. But I just wanted to point out I'm president of the HOA, and when we were discussing this and how we might be able to offer the town something in return, I think our objective was to try to create something that would offer a better view for everyone who lives in the town. And try to make this a win-win proposal. And I think that would happen, because right now, we are required to move the Phragmites and we're only on our property. There will still be Phragmites. So
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah,
We understand that.
yeah, and then the other thing I just wanted to say is that it's my understanding that the coastal access, the deep requirement, it's not a requirement, it's a goal, it's an objective. But that this body has the authority.
Well, that's why I thought it'd be nice to have a conversation with them too, to see how we're balancing things here, of the viewing platform versus opening up a much broader view and controlling the invasives.
I don't know, yes, so I guess that's the question. I don't understand the scope of what the difference is between maintaining views in perpetuity as required in, you already have that
Right.
as a
Right.
condition of
So
approval,
let's-
so what's different?
What's
That
different
is
is,
what is
different
being
is we
proposed to
changed,
you.
we changed the deed restriction to not require the viewing area and the maintenance of the views as it was written in the deed restriction. We created a new deed restriction. And I'm not sure how we do this, but we create a new deed restriction which includes the management of the invasive species on the property, and in addition, deeper into the Madison Land Trust, you'll need some way of measuring or estimating how deep that goes. Madison Land Trust will need to agree with
It's
that.
putting something else on here. No, so it's everything that,
But we need a proposal in writing, so we know what we're voting on. And also I would like to have conversations with Deep about it. Just to
Well, I
get
think
their
once
feedback.
you get a proposal, you can ask questions, yeah,
Exactly.
that will generate questions, and yes.
So I think we're gonna, to be continued.
So
That's okay.
in order to do that, if that's the direction you're all looking to go, because the hearing has been open, you will exceed your 35 days to hold a hearing open. As the applicant, you would need to grant the commission an extension to hold that open to the December 21st meeting. If you're willing to do that, to consider and give you more time to get the commission information.
And give us a written proposal.
Yes, a written.
We'll also need a proposal for contribution to whatever that fund is we want.
What's been
From the
bonded for
developer.
this project,
So we can write that into it. We need that
exactly,
in writing.
in writing.
If
I
we
don't-
want to do that, right? Of the district.
But,
Yeah.
right, so imagining the conditions would be elimination of viewing and the addition of a contribution from the developer of X amount.
In lieu of.
And not in
The
lieu of,
value
just
of that you're
lieu of, it's
looking
just-
for.
additional money has to be put up for it.
It's
That's
an
straight.
exchange.
That's right, we shouldn't have to say that.
No.
Because then
Erin, is
gets
that
into
clear?
weird kind of things. I'm not sure.
What
That's
did you
for the
not have to
lawyers
say?
Whether,
An exchange of money, that's what he's saying. You have to exchange what's been done. We don't understand who needs to write it, how it needs to be written up, who needs to write this proposal.
So, yeah, I think we'll wait and get a proposal from the HOA of what you're proposing and go through that. And if a legal question as far as whether or not this is a viable option
Make it
of an
work.
in lieu of installation, we can speak with our land use attorney for
Okay,
that.
and Adam also, and John said. they
Needs
would-
write in writing.
That would need.
Well,
to-
that could be worked out as part of their proposal.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what I said. You could
And
include
get the
that.
land trust.
And the land trust on board.
I can do that. Okay.
So we need from you an extension to continue to our
First.
December 21st meeting.
And then a motion
And then we need a motion to extend?
to
So make
continue.
a
To
motion
continue
to
the public hearing.
consider, to
Yeah,
extend the
so-
public hearing.
Janet,
Yes.
second? John? Further discussion?
Do we know what the value of the bond was?
We don't have it.
I have it,
That'll be
yes, I
part of
have, I will
everything.
give you that information. I didn't have that uploaded into the application documents.
We'll need that as well.
But yes, it's an itemized account. That's how the amount was generated. So
Okay.
yes, I can give you that.
Okay, Jeff, are you following us okay there on Zoom? He can't vote anyway. So, all in
He's
favor?
listening.
I am following, yes.
Okay, thanks. I think it's unanimous, so we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, want to return your. So there's still opportunity for public
Participation.
participation. on
Public
it.
participation.
We should.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Want me to take, put it all at once? I'll put it in at once. That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks. All right, second on our agenda is 23-46, 31 Stony Lane, map 36, lot 25-2, zone R1. The owner is Barbary 12 LLC, applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates. This is the petition for zone boundary change and development plan approval to establish the open space conservation district. Public hearing continued from October 19th. We also have another
Would you prefer
issue, another agenda item
stand on or?
that we'll get to later.
As long as we can see you in the
Attorney Shansky, welcome. Are you our speaker?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, hello.
Everybody ready?
Would you like
Ready?
to use your phone? If you're close, they might hear you, but.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I'm Attorney Marjorie Shansky. I represent Barbary 12 LLC in this open space conservation subdivision application. With me this evening are principals of Barbary 12 LLC, Adam Greenberg and John Giannotti. Also with me are Chuck Mandel from Stevens and Associates and John Cunningham, who has done the landscape plan. Since we were here, I did do a notoriously brief introduction at the last meeting. A remarkably brief introduction, perhaps, talking about the elements of the open space conservation regulation, section 27 of your zoning regulations, which has been there for quite a long time. And it has defining standards that are required to be eligible for the open space conservation subdivision, and our plans reflect that those standards are represented in what has been provided to the commission. And in the purposes of the regulation, there's language about this effort to really design to the landscape. This is an opportunity to not do something that one might refer to as conventional, but to do something that honors what the configuration, topography, and resources of the landscape are offering. And in this particular case, we have a 5.8225 acre parcel in which, in this design, we're creating 2.9151 acres of open space. So it's a nice set of conservation in association with the development. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we have an enthusiastic endorsement from the subdivision perspective from the Wetlands Commission on Bob Russo's detailed wetland report, which was submitted as part of this application package. We also have Health Department approval for the six subsurface sewage disposal systems. And this very week, John Cunningham, with drawings from Ray Sullivan, the architect, went to ACA. And he can describe to you his experience there, but we have only good news to share with the commission. So because we have a request that reflects the purposes of 27.1.1 of the regulations, it reflects longstanding goals and policies of the Plan of Conservation and Development, which I say with respect to the existing 10-year-old document and the work that the commission is now doing for your next document, because this is this reconciliation of conservation and development that is the best reflection, and then creating homes that will reflect the aesthetic interests of the town of Madison. So it's complementary. It does things for both the environment and for the town and for the future owners. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Chuck Mandel, and we'll take your questions and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie. Chuck Mandel, agent for Don and Adam. I was asked not to wing it tonight, so I wrote out my notes very succinctly, so I have more detail. So
Who asked you that, Chuck?
I apologize if I look, if I look down a bit. So November 16th, 2023. Okay, the parcel address is 31 Stony Lane and is located at the intersection of Stony Lane and Fort Path Road. It consists of 5.82 acres with 2.91 acres to be dedicated open space. That area is just over 50% of the total parcel. The owners are proposing 6 residential lots with lot sizes varying from 15,567 square feet to 30,786 square feet. The proposed development has been before the Madison Inland Wetland Commission, application number 23-48, and received a favorable subdivision approval to create 6 lots in an open space conservation subdivision. One major comment from that approval is any activity within the 100-foot regulated area will need to come back before wetlands. As part of tonight's submittal, we have also included a soils report. We dug over 119 deep test holes witnessed by a soil scientist, which was Bob Russo, and the Madison Health Department. Along with the 119 test holes, we also ran 32 percolation tests, along with groundwater monitoring from February 12th, 2022 through April 29th, 2022. These tests were conducted to prove septic system viability. On September 11th, 2023, we received Connecticut Public Health Code 19-13 V100A approval from the Madison Health Director, Trent Joseph. This document states the open space subdivision plan supports subsurface sewage disposal for 6 lots. Each lot will require individual approvals once we go back. The applicants also commissioned a traffic study as part of this submittal by David Sullivan of SLR Corporation. In the summary section, it states no impacts to traffic level service are expected. There were some recommendations to trim near driveways to maintain good sight lines. All lots will be served by public water and gas. Electric will be underground. And we are also proposing 15-foot side yards and rear yard setbacks, and there's going to be a 30-foot front yard setback. So that when I say the front yard setback, that's from the property line. So there's an additional 7 to 25 feet, it varies along Stony Lane, of additional buffer between the edge of pavement and the actual structures. Let's see. And the residents proposed are 3-bedroom units with subsurface stormwater mitigation structures also. And I did notice also in the documentation that was sent, there were about 6 or 7 letters that were favorable to this proposal. I just wanted to make sure that the
We saw
commission.
this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify that we're here this evening both on the issue of the open space designation and then for the subdivision in the regular part of your meeting.
Right,
Thank you.
we have you on our agenda. And we weren't sure we could do both in one night, but I think we can.
Yes. They're just timed to, yes, effective dates. And I did, I don't know if you have an interest in going through, but this is a portion of the site plan, the second.
Right, so it's actually on 2 sheets. Lot 1, here's Fort Path Road to the north. And we will have lot 2 and 3 are going to have a shared driveway. I did say that most of the lots are 3-bedroom. I believe one of the lots is going to have a accessory dwelling unit, which will be an additional 2 bedrooms. I believe that's lot 5, I think, on the
What
other
is the
sheet.
structure next to lot 2?
I'm sorry?
What is the structure right next to
It's-
lot 2?
Well, here's 2 here. Oh, and this is a garage. So one of the caveats on this is we were allowed to put an accessory structure in the front yard. That was part of the open space conservation subdivision. You can actually write your own regulations. This yellow line is the 100-foot review line for wetlands. So you can see if there's no activity, so lot 1, we may or may not have to go before wetlands. Sometimes if there's steep slopes, they want to see it, even though we're outside the review. That's up to the commission or to the wetlands enforcement officer. So these other lots will certainly have to go before. I do see, oh, that might be a pool, I think, at some point. I don't know if that's ever going to get built, but we're just showing that for graphic purposes. There's another pool down here, but these will have to go before the Wetlands Commission. The septic systems are these, I guess that's cyan, I guess. That's what you call it. Okay, so then if you want to go to the next sheet, Aaron. So then here are the remaining lots. Here's 4, 5, and 6. This is the, if you drive down Stony Lane, this is where the barn is for Kingsley Goddard. And this is, his house is up here somewhere for reference, but here's the existing driveway, which we're going to leave intact. When the 2 zones are next to each other, we also have to maintain a 50-foot buffer between the residential zone and the open space subdivision. So that's this pink line is the buffer area. And let's see what else I have on here. So this primary reserve, here's the stormwater systems down below here. And we're also proposing, there's something in the health code that allows us to put down gradient in the septic systems. It's a it's a nitrogen removal system. So we're also proposing that due to the proximity to the wetlands down here. And this is all, actually, the river is, this is the wetland line down here, but the river is a couple of 100 feet further than that. Yeah. So that's only the plains area of that.
Any questions from the commission?
Madam Chair, it may go without saying, but the open space will be covered by a conservation restriction.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, we did go.
We did have to go through our regs again about that because.
Right, well, we did I spoke to David Roach and the Madison Land Conservation Trust did look at this parcel, but they really had no interest in obtaining it. So this will go to a homeowners or some other, well, Marjorie will think of something, I'm sure. And if you want to hear John Cunningham's here, he can discuss whatever.
Does anyone want to hear about the buffer plan? Yes.
No, it's good to know it exists.
Okay.
But I think, I mean, I still feel this is fairly early in the process too, so.
It is early in the process, but as we noted last month, the regulations require that we have been to ACCA, and so it's a balance of now this, more later.
Exactly, thanks.
Yeah.
Great.
Is that a yes for John?
You want to see it? Do you have that on?
I don't think
We don't need to, do we?
well, we don't.
This should have been handed in with Tom Stevens' plan.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, we,
Okay.
that's good.
That looks nice.
This is in the 50-foot area. This is 40th scale. You can see all the homes. This was presented to ACA, and ACA unanimously said they like the idea of the neighborhood going in Stony Lane.
Thanks.
All right, okay. You're welcome.
Any questions, comments?
I did just want to, I shared with both the commission and the applicant staff report that identifies, one, the regulations, because it's not often we have an open space conservation district come before you. This is a first for you, a first for me. And so I just wanted you to be aware of the concept of a floating zone is similar to that concept of a planned development district that you have gone through. This is a map amendment where you're acting in your legislative capacity to basically land this zone over this particular area and approve the development plan. So that's the first step of this. And then there is the regulations themselves allow for either a site plan process where you may have clustered and a condo type association and shared land, or a subdivision set up. In this particular case, it's a subdivision. And so that is why your next application is, so you've established zoning standards and now going through a formal subdivision process. And they would be compliant with the zoning regulations that were applied to this particular
For
property.
each of the 6.
Yep, and so going through these standards, and Attorney Shansky had touched upon these, but this this particular proposal does comply with the density calculations, the open space, the setback distances, things of that nature. And those would apply throughout any future, changes to those individual properties.
Thank you, Erin. Could I have a motion then?
I did just want to, we do have, excuse me, Madam Chair, two signups from the public to be heard, and I don't have anyone at this time.
And Jeff Downs,
Virtually,
Jeff
we
Downs,
have-
you can hear us for all this, right? Thumbs up from.
I can. I can. I just can't really speak that well.
Thumbs up is good.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Anybody from the public then who wanted to?
Yes, both Alan Katz and Frank Angelino.
Okay, great.
If you'd like to identify yourself.
Alan Katz, 363 Boston Post Road, the corner of Stony Lane. So we have met with Adam several times during his process, and we think that Adam's development is really responsible development. And I speak for all of the neighbors on Stony Lane. There are 6 homes there. We have met many times. We have talked to Adam many times. He has kept us informed every step of the process. And we think it's a great development, especially the location on the back end of the farm, which was growing tired. And I think this will spruce up Stony Lane quite a bit. And we also thank the town for being so diligent in terms of the wetlands and protecting the wetlands and sizing this project properly. So I think everyone seems to be finally on the same page, and we approve. We're happy he's going to do what he's going to do. We wish him the best.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You could pass right to Frank.
Next, yeah. Your neighbor.
Frank Angelino, 42 Stony Lane. By 21st century standards, Stony Lane is a very unusual street. Everyone knows each other. We visit frequently in each other's homes. It's almost reflective of an early 20th century neighborhood. We also visit frequently with the farm, because they've been our good neighbors all of these years, in spite of what you heard from an attorney who appeared before you on the 19th of last month. So we support Adam because, and John Giannotti, because they've been very open and amenable to ideas. In Stony Lane, if you've driven by, you might notice that we do communal planting of unusual species, not big box trees, but Japanese, red Japanese, pines, and other rare species. And we do it irrespective of property lines, so that we don't have rows of trees on each side, even rows of trees. We plant plants like nature intended to be planted randomly. So you get that sense of coming down Stony Lane. And I was glad to hear the attorney mention about the landscaping and having the landscape architect here, because there's many things that we've started on Stony Lane that can be developed on the other side and with the stone walls, so that the town benefits. It becomes a place where a lot of people used to come just to see the sheep who were grazing on the land that's now going to be developed. Obviously, we'd all like to see the sheep there, but it's not going to happen. And we've been working cooperatively. And again, Adam and John have been very open to have a dialogue with all of us. And I think, again, it's going to be a productive project because of the way they've approached it and the way we've received it. So with that, I guess it's an overall blanket approval.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Anyone online hearing via Zoom?
If anyone in attendance via webinar, if you'd like to just raise your hand to be heard, we'll call on you.
Okay, well, I think we're all,
I just have one question, just
Yeah,
to
sure.
understand on the, on your report. It
Yes.
says the OSCDs are floating zones to be designated on the zoning map only after approval by the Commission of Development Plan. Is this the development plan?
Yes.
Okay.
This
So
site
sure.
plan that was shown to you is the development
Make
plan.
sure it's, yeah.
That sets the zoning standards as well.
so with that clarification, are we ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We should have a motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, close.
First, we need a motion.
Close.
To close the public hearing. And a second. And any further discussion, all in favor, we've jumped right into deliberation. And I think we're all feeling positive.
Yep.
About it, so that's why, Aaron, do I need to go through any more formal process for deliberation? I think that this is a pretty easy one.
If someone made a motion, you can continue discussion once the motion is made, sure.
So
If necessary.
a motion to go move to deliberation?
Oh, no, you're in deliberation now,
Okay.
so I thought you meant a motion.
I think that we, yeah, we're all feeling that we're in favor of this, and we have a draft resolution. So we can go ahead, someone could go ahead and make a motion. John Morgan,
Make a motion to approve.
thank you.
I'll second the motion.
And should we read this out loud for the
You
record? Thank you. John Morgan, you
I
mind
will do
reading it?
that, sure. Voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approve application number 23-46, 31 Stony Lane, map 36, lot 25-2, zone R-1, owner Barbary 12 LLC. Applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates, Inc. Petition for zone boundary change and development plan approval to establish open space conservation district based upon the following findings. The applicant has successfully demonstrated that the proposal is consistent with section 27.1.1 of the zoning regulations, as the location and layout of the proposed OSCD are in conformance with the intent of and the goals and objectives contained in the plan of conservation and development. The proposed OSCD preserves a significant land area adjacent to the Neck River as open space and encourages more efficient development of land. The applicant has obtained favorable report from the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. Furthermore, the location and scale of this development helps preserve and protect the surrounding natural resources, including inland wetlands and the Neck River. Number two, the petition demonstrates consistency with section 27.2 of the zoning regulations as the subject parcel meets the standards required for OSCD designations such as minimum district size, uses, density, architectural standards, yard requirements, and open space. Number three, the approval of this zoning map change and development plan may now allow the applicant to proceed with the subdivision application process. The effective date of this approval shall be November 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second.
Mike Burnett, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Jeff can vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, we got it. And thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So moving down the agenda list, you'll be number 6 then, when we come back to you. Next is 23-49, 251 Boston Post Road, map 35, lot 53, zone R1. Owner is My Four Boys LLC, applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates. This is a petition for zone boundary change in a planned development district for section 32. Convert the club into a restaurant with residential unit above associated site improvements.
Well, thank you. Jeffrey Beatty for the applicant.
It's been quite a journey to get here.
Small steps, small steps. Sure. This is our application for the designation of the property 251 Boston Post Road to be planned development district or PDD under section 32 of your regulations. We believe the application, actually I should say with me tonight is Chuck Mandel, John Cunningham, Stefan Noriopoulos, and my client, Christian Lulash. We're happy to answer any questions that the commission may have, but what we're proposing is the conversion of the Winter Club into a restaurant. We believe our application fits within the goals of the comprehensive plan of development, and that it is going to improve safety along the Boston Post Road by eliminating one driveway entrance that currently is on the site, and also improve safety along Stonewall Lane by removing one entrance on the Stonewall Lane. So there's going to be one way in, one way out of the property. We're also increasing the tax base by taking the Winter Club, which is no longer in operation, and introducing a restaurant, which will have generate tax revenue for the town, employ people here in town, and introduce and improve the quality of life in Madison by introducing what we expect will be a very inviting and excellent dining opportunity for the citizens of Madison as well as surrounding towns. So we think for those reasons, if we comply with comprehensive development, we believe we satisfy or meet all the requirements of section 32 with regard to lot area or lot size, frontage along the Boston Post Road. We're taking the property is impacted by wetlands, and that one of the boundaries is on the Neck River. There's a significant area next to the Neck River that won't be able to be developed, and we're removing some of the pervious surface on the property, which is a driveway which currently loops around the Winter Club that's coming out, and pervious pavers will be installed, so there will remain access for emergency services vehicles to circulate around the entire building, but with less pervious structure close to the Neck River. So we're improving that aspect of the property as well. There will be some, we've gone to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. They've approved our application. We met with ACA earlier this week with regard to some largely cosmetic changes to the exterior of the building, and they responded favorably to the application. And we think that we satisfy the requirements of section 32. There was one item that we wanted to address, which was with regard to open space. There is going to be a residential unit. It's roughly, I think, what was it? 1,100 square feet, which would be about 15% of that would be about 180 square feet. We've got about 8,500 square feet on the property that won't be able to be impacted because of the wetlands. So we feel that we satisfy, although not directly dedicating it as open space, it effectively will be functioning as open space on the site. I'll turn it over to Mr. Mandel to go over the specifics of the project with regard to lot size and all those other site-specific.
I don't need that. Okay. I got a big mouth. Good evening, Chuck Mandel, agent for Francisco. So Madison Oyster House is going to be the name of the new project. The site address is 251 Boston Post Road, and it's immediately adjacent on the west side of the Neck River and on the north of the Boston Post Road. The parcel is approximately 2.28 acres. We have obtained a regulated activity permit from Madison Inland Wetland Commission. And we also have approval from the State Health Department for the 150-seat restaurant and the residence. The permit was granted August 1st, 2023. The reason it had to go to the state was due to the size of the septic system. So it's outside local jurisdiction, although they still monitor that. We had a response. We also had a positive response from the Madison Architectural Review Committee, and I'll let the project architect speak to that aspect of the development. We also commissioned a traffic study, once again done by David Sullivan of SLR out of New Haven. On page 6 of that report, on the conclusion, it states the results of this assessment indicate that the trips generated by the proposed 150-seat restaurant will have minimal impact on the surrounding roadway network traffic flows. We're proposing 65 parking spaces to be regraded and shifted north, which will allow additional landscaping. So a very curious thing about that project is the state right-of-way is only about 20 feet for, oh, here we go. The state right-of-way is a significant amount of property. So the state actually owns up to where that stone wall is. There is also an additional wetland pocket that's on state land, which was a bit problematic in dealing with the state. And just for a point of reference, there's also a well down here that was, I don't know, someone said George Washington's horse, Waterman's horse, I'm not sure. So based on the study, since that interferes with the septic system, we will have permission to, we're not going to just destroy the well, we're just going to fill it with gravel. So that's a perfect way to abandon the well and still not affect the septic. We're 65 lots, 65 parking spaces. Okay, that's to be regraded. The owner also hired John Cunningham, a landscape architect, to formulate a landscape plan, and John is here to discuss any aspects of that. And we also, we've reduced existing pervious surfaces by 22%. And as Jeff had mentioned, we will have pervious pavers. Actually, it's grass, so it's like these plastic egg crates that kind of sit, and utility companies use those routinely, and any heavy equipment can get around there safely. And that is it. John, you want to talk about anything? Or architectural? Yeah, go ahead.
Chuck, can you just speak to the setbacks real quick, that as,
In regards to.
so I did just want to.
Yeah.
And as the architect details the front portico changes.
Oh, yeah.
In the underlying R1 zone, there's a 40-foot front yard setback. And so as establishing this new PDD, you're establishing.
Yes. Yes, we did, and we did that today, actually. We have a resubmitted plan with the.
This is it.
Okay, with the initial setback. Yeah, actually, Tony did it, so I didn't even see it. So, okay, so we did allow for that portico also. Here's the river here. This is Stonewall Lane. Yeah, we're closing that off completely, so there will be no access, lighting. I'm not going to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stefan Nishopoulos. I'm the architect on the project. Most of the work is basically going to be interior. Some of the exterior work I'm going to go over. If you drove by, I would say 2 weeks ago, you would have noticed the building was clad in aluminum siding. We took that aluminum siding off and we discovered the beautiful cedar siding, which was under it. It was in pretty good shape. Some areas were not, but most of it was in good shape. So we decided to restore the building to its original glory, what it was before. The main building basically was a Greek Revival building, which was the main building in the front before all the other additions were put to it. This particular drawing shows all the existing conditions, the interior conditions as exist now. And like I said, most of the work will be done on the interior. We're keeping the same areas, floor areas, as far as the existing dining will be restored, the kitchen will be restored again, and the other part of the bar will be introduced in this area. Presently, it was spilling out into that space with the bar being in the main entry area. One of the physical things that we're changing on the exterior, other than the siding itself that we're restoring, is basically the entry. And the reason we're doing that is twofold. One, it's not handicap accessible presently. If you noticed before, if you try to walk in, there's like almost a 2-inch difference between the landing of the stairs and the entry to the building. What we're doing is we're dressing the landing, the stairs, and the existing ramp with a non-skid slate. So we're bringing it up 1.5 inches, which makes it now handicap accessible. The other problem that was there is the existing entry. It's very low. It's only got like a 6'11" height. So when you get to that platform, you basically can hit your head. When the door opens, it almost touches the ceiling.
That's normal for an 1838 house.
Correct. The problem is sometimes now we're getting taller, it seems like, so we're raising that. And we're trying to maintain the same Greek Revival style of the house itself. The other problem that it had, the entry, was it had 3 different slopes for the roof. So as you're approaching it up, going up the stairs, all the rainwater will be coming down on you. So now what we're doing is diverting it to the side of it and taking it, and taking it, with gutters to the other. So other than the siding and the front entry, everything on the exterior is basically remaining the same. Like I said, most of the work will be done interior.
There was a note about changing the windows of the sort of original Greek Revival pediment front there, but it looked like you're doing pretty much the same.
Exactly. What we do is we're restoring all the windows that are there. After we removed, even the windows themselves, was clad with aluminum, so we didn't know what was under it. Once we removed it, we noticed it's in good shape. We're going to restore everything, the existing windows, the same way.
Right, so you're gonna maintain the character wherever you can.
That's correct.
It's listed, by the way, on a historic survey as being the Frederick Scranton House
That is correct.
originally.
Yes.
So there you go.
Well, I was trying
You get
to
bonus
use my
points for
plan to go
restoring.
for Shippo to get some credits, but he doesn't want to do it. He wants to go ahead and use his money. So.
Could you speak to the bay window and the discussion with ACA?
Yes, one of the discussions we had with ACA was the fact that they were concerned about the 2 different slopes on this particular elements in the front of the building. So what we decided to take the sloped roof of the 13-inch or so extension of the bay window, for lack of a better word, it's not really a bay window, but best way to describe it, and just cover it with a copper flushing on top, and this way the 2 slopes don't fight with each other, so you have the 2 different elements, and that was recommended by ACA, so we decided to go ahead and go with that.
I also like the treatment of the flat roof.
Yes, I mean, again, it was just there, and it didn't have any character whatsoever. So by doing that, it gives it a little more character. It ties it into the rest of the building.
Thanks.
Any questions?
Where's the residential?
That's an existing unit. It's on the 2nd level. If you want to see the floor plans for it, it's on the existing floor plans. That's the unit on the right above it. It goes right above this area here. This it has an entrance on the side, which has a stair, and it comes up to it.
Will they have access to that flat roof as a deck or anything?
No,
No,
no.
okay.
When they added the flat roof, it was almost where the windows are, so the elevations are totally different.
So no architect had been used before, correct?
I apologize.
It sounds like no architect had been used.
I'm not sure.
As
to be
an
honest.
addition?
It doesn't,
The
Doesn't
the
show.
extension to the west is actually an old barn.
Old barn that was
Yeah,
attached to it.
yes.
And we, yeah. And it's interesting when you look at the inside, how the structure was. They have beams and they have posts that are holding it together. So.
Great, thanks. Any other questions?
I had a question on the parking area, but you may not be the right person for that. How many parking slots are there today?
I believe there are about 45 or so.
And you're increasing it
to 65, correct. There's more, there's additional room, but based on the use of his Francisco's restaurant up in Killingworth, La Forista, we're gonna be required. Originally, I think we had maybe 95 parking spaces. And based on impervious surfaces, we reduced that to 65.
And the overflow is gravel.
Correct, it is gravel overflow, yes.
What is the plan for elimination of that area?
I'm sorry?
What is your plan for illuminating that area?
Oh.
Site lighting.
Site lighting. That would be John.
You have the landscape plan on big work?
I have it on the TV.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, that's fine. Good evening, John Cunningham, owner of TEC Landscape Design located at 62 Wall Street in Madison, Connecticut. Here's the landscape plan for the site. I have, which I can bring out, I have the cut sheets for the light posts. They're 14 feet tall. That's what a lot of the neighbors asked for behind the area. They're a full cutoff fixture. Okay, we haven't selected the specific fixture yet, but what we said at ACA on Tuesday, they'll be on a 14-foot pole and they'll be full cutoff with no wash behind the light. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe there's 10 units in the parking lot.
So the ones that are in the front are facing into the property.
Yes, yeah, correct. So the only area from a photometrics plan, which we will have at the next meeting, only the parking area will be illuminated. There are a couple of small bollards. Everyone knows what a 54-inch light bollard is. These are going to be full cutoff also. They're just going to show how to get to the main entrance. My slashed line here, this is probably going to be a concrete paver, drop-off area. Then you go back into the parking area. And as Chuck said, the existing fire lane, it's going to be a grass cell. If anyone's familiar with that, it's a 2-inch product that goes onto a structure base, has topsoil. So this will all be a green element back around here. About the one little thing that we hope the state will listen to, Chuck mentioned that this is the property line. So the trees out front are not on our property, they're on state land. When we met with the state there in the spring, they didn't want anything on their land. So we're eliminating, there's a large area of plant material right where my finger is, that's coming out. This is an elm, I believe, which is not in great shape. We don't mind if this one goes. We're hoping they're going to allow us to leave the 2 oak trees in front. The white birch is probably a thing of the past. That could probably go down. Most of the other circles on the plans are all new material. I'm trying to leave one of the large Norway spruce right where my finger is. This is an existing bed, okay? But the rest of the material on the front is really damaged and should come down. There's a lot of damage over here in the corner that's all going to come down, and we have notes on the plan to remove any unwanted material. We are using, plant list isn't on there. We're using evergreen material. We're using white spruce and red cedar as an evergreen tree to soften it from the residential thing. Yeah, as a buffer. These will be field determined. Middle of the parking lot, this is going to be honey locust. Going to have a little compound leaf, so it won't be a maintenance problem. And I introduced Sweet Bay Magnolia. It's the native magnolia. It's a nice variety. It's a summer blooming white flower. It's not a big grower. It's used as all the ornamental trees on the property. There'll be an evergreen hedge also along the front. It'll either be taxus or ilex, probably planted at 24 to 30 inches tall. The parking lot is above the front lawn area. This wall is probably about 30 inches. Okay. Walls on our property, the state owns below it. So I think the hedges will do a good job in softening the front of that car. I don't think you want to have a tall hedge out front that's going to isolate it, but I think if we can get rid of the grill in the car would be really nice driving by there.
That little wetlands area, is that just like a swale in the spring? It's-
No, it was probably, I mean, my guess is it was probably dug at some point in time, it's formed into a
Yeah.
wetland area. It's not connected to anything.
Right.
It doesn't really have any bearing. It's full of Phragmites. We're just gonna mow the Phragmites down. Okay, let's not get into that conversation. Let's leave the Phragmites. We're just gonna,
We don't want to go there yet.
we're gonna cut her for as long as Francesca owns the property, because like, it's not great looking. But we're just gonna mow it down. We did tell the wetland board, we would just put a small buffer of plant material back around it, which they wanted. The rest of the area is gonna be just grass.
Is the parking area on a crown or a grade or something?
Okay, that's a good question. If you see my finger, this runs straight down to what I call a drip edge. This is a river jack. This is a 1 to 3 inch river jack.
It captures the wash.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, but I don't think there's going to be much water from this parking lot is going to go into a lawn area in the island. It's never going to make it through to this parking lot, but this is going to drain into here, which is going to be fine. All right.
The overall impervious surface area is being reduced.
Mhm.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Significantly, which is a change from the original approval.
Mhm.
And really, I think that's done to balance stormwater and septic. There isn't room for both. And so in reducing the
It's a good
impervious,
solution
it's
already,
not
yeah.
requiring that.
Mhm.
that treatment.
Very good.
Our overflow parking, as Chuck mentioned, is in the back. It's just going to be processed stone. And our trash and waste is going to be here. It's going to be enclosed in a galvanized and white cedar enclosure. And I have photographs and stuff.
So the overflow parking is beyond the 65? Parking, the whole.
I believe that,
No, it's included.
It's included in the 65.
Yes.
okay, it's included in 65.
And trucks and delivery just go in the main.
Yep. It's the only way in. You can see this is existing asphalt here. This is probably where they're going to come up, back into the kitchen.
Yeah, Chuck Mandel, the recommendation from the state was to close off that
Right.
eastern entrance.
Yeah.
There's no sight line, it's very dangerous.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
I think I turned it off.
So just to wrap it up, we believe we meet all the requirements of the PDD regulations with regard to lot size. It's in an R1 zone, which is what's required for locating one of the zones where PDDs can be located. We have the requisite frontage on the street. We're over 200 feet. And we're in an area that was created by this commission earlier this year, receptive to PDDs. We think by improving the safety along the Boston Post Road, we're providing benefit to the town in that regard. The property has access to the Post Road. Physical characteristics of the site are well suited for its use. It's been used as a club for many, many years, and we think the restaurant uses, keeping with that, while not exactly the same. And we believe that what we're proposing is consistent with the goals of the plan of conservation and development. We urge that you approve locating a PDD on the site. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from attendees?
We didn't have anybody sign up. If anybody online would like to speak for or against the application, please raise your hand. I did just want to enter my staff report into the record as well.
Sure.
And share that with the applicant earlier today. And some of this is recap of the regulation as you've gone through this process twice before in landing a PDD. And those two properties were on new roads. So you're familiar with the process and that the applicant would, upon approval of a zoning map amendment, would then return to you for a site plan approval In this particular case, also a coastal site plan application because they are located within the coastal zone. And that essentially is an administrative approval at that level for the commission. And I did go through your eligibility and identify the requirements in section 32 and what the subject property, how they met those requirements. And also your considerations in approving a map amendment for the PDD. The location, uses, and layout of the PDD are in conformance with the intent and the goals and objectives of the Plan of Conservation and Development. Attorney Beatty did indicate, I think these in all of his letter, all of these items in his letter to you. And I tried to summarize those points that he made to you. And so let me know if you have any questions rather than reading it. To you.
Please.
We read it.
All right.
Any questions or need for clarification? Could I have a motion then to close the public hearing and move to deliberations? Bob Reinhardt, second. Any further discussion about that? All in favor? Great. Deliberations. Thoughts? I love the name. I have to say, I grew up oystering on the Neck River and the East River. So it's very appropriate, I think. And I know I wouldn't want to eat oysters necessarily on there yet, but.
What is the full name?
The Madison Oyster House.
That is, must be the name said Connecticut, so I said, why the music?
Smart.
Slapping
Anything else? I think it looks great. We're really excited, and I know it, as I said, it's been a bit of a journey for you all, so thanks for your patience. Do I have a motion? You want to go ahead and read it, Janet? We have a draft.
The following draft resolution is offered, voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approve application 2349, 251 Boston Post Road, map 35, lot 53, zone R1, owner Miami Boys LLC. Applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates petition for zone boundary change, plan development district for section 32 to convert club into a restaurant with residential unit above with associated site improvements based upon the following findings. 1, the applicant has successfully demonstrated that the proposal is consistent with section 32.2.1 of the zoning regulations, as the location, uses, and layout of the proposed PDD are in conformance with the intent of and goals and objectives contained in Plan of Conservation and Development. The proposed PDD is in harmony with the surrounding neighborhoods, land uses, and its location on Boston Post Road will help provide convenient access to the site while minimizing impacts to adjacent and other local residential streets. The applicant has provided a traffic report which identifies recommendations to help ensure safety and operational issues at the main driveway. The applicant has obtained regulated activity permit through the Inland Wetlands and Water Courses Agency. Furthermore, no historic resources are present on the site that require protection. 2, the petition demonstrates consistency with section 32.3.2 of the zoning regulations, as the subject parcel meets the characteristics required for eligibility for PDD designation, such as minimum district size, parcel, location, and minimum lot frontage. 3, the commission has considered section 32.3.3 of the zoning regs in making this decision and determined that the proposed conversion of a mixed-use building from a club to a full-service restaurant with a residential unit on second floor is an appropriate development of this currently vacant building. The project will further the goals of the 2013 POCD by providing appropriate economic development in town. Potential benefits include employment, food, and housing, and tax revenue.
Thank you, Janet. Second. I'd like to discussion, Aaron, I was wondering if we could just edit a little bit the last statement of the first paragraph and say something about, it says furthermore, no historic resources are present on the site that require protection, but maybe we could say additional protection or further, because you are protecting what's there. I mean, as I understand what you've just presented, there is a historic structure underneath. You're doing what you can to preserve the exterior. So could we just edit
You
that
have a,
slightly?
absolutely, you
So
can.
just, the simplest way might just be to say furthermore, no historic resources, or maybe say the historic resources present
Mhm.
will be protected as possible, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's adequate.
Sure,
I like that better.
thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I did check to see how old it was. Thank you. Okay, any other further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Great, thank you. Thank you all. We're excited.
Keeping the one side of the building.
Yeah, it's true.
The plastic side and all.
You might be able to get old photographs too of oystering in the area.
It's gonna be cedar, it's gonna look sad, it's gonna be 7 years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's gonna be a hard price when you come to eat over there. Put me through for 2 years.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I see you next month. I have to start.
Keep the momentum going.
Okay.
Great,
Thank you. Have a good night.
thank you. All right. Moving right along. We've got number 4 on our agenda. This is public hearing was closed October 19th. We're into deliberations. This is 23-44. Applicants Julie Obion and Frank Angelino petition for regulation text amendment to section 32 of the Plan Development District. And that was the amendment the text amendment that was done back in February of this year.
Chairperson Snow, have we be allowed to raise procedural point of order that has nothing to do with the substance of the
Maybe
closed
let's
hearing?
check with Aaron, because we've closed the public hearing, but we're in deliberation.
This has to do with procedure and not with the substance of the application.
You have a question?
No, it's the procedure. At the last meeting, an attorney appeared before you represented, he was representing.
Yeah, well, discussions of that nature are closed.
Okay. But it goes to the validity of your resolution, which could be appealed.
Okay, I think we need to cut it off though, but I don't know if it's, possible to follow up with something in writing if you have objections or issues or something, but because the public hearing is closed.
There's no further communication by the
I thought
public
a point
for
of
the
order is
commission
always-
to be
I thought a point of
received,
order is always,
not during a public hearing
okay,
when it's closed.
I accept.
We have to go by these really strict rules.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, so deliberations. Thoughts from
This is the
anyone?
one about the scenic road.
This is the text amendment. Do we have it here, Aaron?
I can pull it up if you'd like to see it on the screen.
It was in last month's packet. I'm not sure. We have it here yet.
The specific language?
Yeah, can you pull up the text?
Bob has it.
It's great.
There it is.
It's to that III section of the eligibility. So it's the 32.3.2 D III, and that the new language would be added to what the commission had changed. The amendment that you had made earlier in the year, and the language in red states, and in no event shall any lot or parcel be located adjacent to or bounded by a state designated scenic road. That is the proposal before you.
I'll start the discussion if no one else.
Yeah, do.
So,
please, please.
I have to say, when I first saw the language, I thought, well, that's simple and not complicated and, you know, a solution. That said, though, I was influenced by the public hearing process and who came and who talked and one thing that struck me was that I think there are, 15 properties that are in that stretch of the post road. And as I understood it, there were 2 property owners within who were in favor of this amendment and 2 property owners within who were opposed to this text amendment, including the owner of the only property that is really that really qualifies for a PDD to land on this section of the post road. I think I would have been more influenced if every one of those property owners were in favor of this text amendment, but then because we didn't have that kind of representation presented to us, I stood back and I thought, okay, I took a deeper dive into our existing regulations and saw how many layers of protection there are for this
Already in place.
residential 1 area, which is still an R1, even though I know some of you don't believe that, but until we have a PDD land, as we just saw with the Madison Oyster House, you're still R1 within that area. And there's no imminent threat to, you know, a major commercial enterprise coming in. I mean, first of all, the only possible property that could do it would be Barbary Hill Farm. They're the only ones that qualify, that meet all the qualifications under that section of
To apply.
32 to even apply for a PDD. So also the other thing is that I know we've been talking about a POCD. We have the existing 2013 POCD, which very, very clearly states that the intent is to protect scenic resources, protect historic resources, as appropriate, designate additional historic districts or historic properties. This area is in fact well underway toward historic district status. We've gotten the final report, as I understand, or the draft final report for the study of it. I happen to know that because I'm on that committee too. So full disclosure, I'm on the Historic District Commission as an alternate, and I'm on the Old Elm Street Historic District Study Commission. So that adds another layer of protection, assuming that is successful. Under scenic roads, it's another layer of protection. And even in the plan in section 32, there's significant language about protecting natural and historic resources and scenic areas, scenic landscapes, scenic vistas. So I didn't really feel there was the urgency that you all feel to amend what was amended back in February. That's
I agree with your comment, Carol, but I would also add that I applaud the intent, but I see no accommodation for any exceptions whatsoever in the language as shown. And based on that, I can't vote for it.
Well, regarding the Barbary Hill Farm, did we deal with that tonight? Is that still?
the front of the property is still, could still
Oh,
be
it's
part of that
be,
in the future. It still qualifies for a future PDD, another. Yeah, just to clarify that. In terms of acreage and footage and frontage, and size of the property.
I agree with you. There's so many protective layers.
Already.
Which we understood when we approved the PDD originally.
Correct.
No, I think in documentation put together for the last item we discussed, 2349, outlines the factors that shall be considered upon approving amendments to the PDD. I think those to me are the protections that are required to allow us to have discretion and decide what is established as a PDD within that zone.
Agreed.
And they're very clear, there's a natural resources, harmony, compatibility, location, use and layout, it's all there. So the concerns that were presented, I think would basically be a front to those, and we have the ability to not approve it and just move forward that way. So I'm hesitant to add additional restrictions. And in addition, the idea that that language then basically takes all the properties and now you're down from this, what made sense to just 2 properties that can be included in that. And to me, that's getting a little too close to the idea of the spot zoning, which we've been advised to avoid, as it creates bigger problems.
Thanks.
Agreed.
John?
I agree. The protections are in place.
I did, okay.
Okay, well,
Well, let's go back to like the procedural issues or the technical issues, right? There was a question about the group posts, whether they qualified as a petitioner, right? And met those requirements. It's not clear who would object to that, but somebody here could. So that's issue 1. Right?
So that question was raised, yes, we raised that question at the, when the public hearing opened, and Ms. Ovian and Mr. Angelino decided that rather than gathering the names and information of folks within post, they would be the sole applicants petitioning for this amendment. And that's how the legal notice did go out, that it was Frank Angelino and Julie Ovian as the petitioners. And they, you know, they meet as property owners, residents in town. They are qualified, they're eligible, I should say, to petition the commission to amend the regulations. So that was resolved.
So it's
yes.
all that. So the other arguments against it were that it targeted Tarberry Hill. So I guess it still does, because that's still in play as a PDD. And the other argument against it was, well, if we do this text amendment, it means that we couldn't at some point in the future make some change which allowed, or specifically mentioned, multifamily housing and commercial development, which seems like everybody agrees now would be not appropriate for those, for that location
In the first place.
in the first place. So my question is like, what are we really giving up if we do approve this? Because we all seem in agreement that once we get past the Barbary Hill Farm property issue, that the commercial development, multifamily housing really wouldn't be appropriate. Right, so it seems like we're denying something which we all agree would be okay.
But it's already handled by other means.
Handled by the means, well,
Yeah.
except for the fact that the petitioner's issue is, well, you just never know, right? That's what the argument boils down to. Right, it is true, that's all different layers of protection, but that was true too for in the PDD discussion. That was going to be the PDD possibilities like all over town. Right. Pretty unanimously agreed, well, yes, there's plenty of protections, but you never know.
But it also doesn't allow for any exceptions.
and,
Well-
you know, we went through a process of, I think, 4 public hearings to narrow the scope of the text amendment we did in February to address more immediate issues.
Right.
Again, following the P O C D and our regulations.
Okay, well, I guess my question is, what's the downside to the text amendment?
The downside is that there are no exceptions.
But what exceptions would
And the
you
one,
foresee as being?
the one property,
Unforeseen.
the one property that is
Right.
even applicable for a PD, could apply for a PDD, is against it. And that meant something to me. I think if everyone had said, oh, yeah, sure, let's definitely put this in place, but there's one property that,
I got you, so, okay, I didn't perfectly understand that, okay,
yeah.
I see, so there's one property and he's against it, okay. Well, that's important.
I think it's significant.
Well,
Any
where
other
do we
thoughts?
stand? I mean, is it worth even discussing further, or
Well, I
where do we stand? In terms of.
think we can make
You
a
can,
motion.
you can discuss or make a motion.
Yeah,
That's up to you.
if there's no further discussion, does someone want to make a motion?
I understand your points. then they're valid. I
Right.
just don't think it's needed because the language and regulations allow us to decide what goes and what doesn't go. And there's room there to say no to just about any proposal if it doesn't fit within the specific character of the street in the area. So I just don't like the idea of continually making changes and narrowing things down to the point of that there's no point in actually doing it. So the first one was click the spot, but now with this change, we narrowed it all down to just one property that was just approved. And that was, so it comes across to me as spots. If you're backing into what you wanted in the first place, which was just allowing the club to be converted to a restaurant.
That's right. It's
So
a
I think-
clawback of
Yeah.
what we granted.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that. I'm uncomfortable with doing that. When I feel like there's, in the original consideration, there is the ability for us to make the right decision on what comes forward.
I got you. Well, what about hypothetically, Barbary Hill property changes hands though?
Then we could.
Yeah,
close
that's
it depending on
not
what it's on.
Then we deal with that
You have to deal
situation.
with it individually.
Want to put another development with a few houses like now, that could be acceptable. But we need to look at it. We don't want big beds.
Okay.
It's a 3-4 story apartment building. No.
Okay.
That's how I. Again, it's a lot of unknowns.
One step further, commission changes, right? Not the turnover.
That's true.
That's 4 to 5 years.
That's true too.
And that can happen.
But I also think though, in the new P O C, you can address a lot of these things and make it's. a
Strength
lot more
that
target
neighbors,
than what we're trying to
I got you. All right. Okay.
do. That's how, yeah, that's a very good point. It's very valid.
I mean, we have two drafts here, one in favor and one opposed. And points are valid, but I think they're stronger to speak in not approving this text amendment at this time. And to, work with us in the future on the POCD and, strengthen the language there so that our updated POCD is even better than the 2013. That's our goal. Anything else anyone else wants to add?
I can do decline.
So we should read the draft resolution. Janet, do you want to read it?
You want me again? Is my voice gonna hold up?
I would. Yeah, this one here.
Voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission deny application 23-44. Applicants Julie Ovian and Frank Angelino petition for regulation text amendment, section 32 Plan Development District, based upon the following findings. 1, the proposal to reduce the eligibility criteria for the Plan Development District is inconsistent with the 2013 Plan of Conservation and Development, as the intent of the regulation is to permit modification of the strict application of the standards and provisions in the zoning regulations to accomplish specific purposes such as diversifying the town's housing portfolio, encouraging open space and economic development by allowing residential, commercial, or a mixture of uses in a comprehensively planned setting. The PDD requires sensitivity and design in order to achieve a development that will be complementary to adjacent land uses while advancing the town's planning directives. 2, the commission finds that section 32.2.1 provides adequate language for the protection of natural and historic resources, including but not limited to historic sites and landscapes, archaeological and/or scenic vistas. The regulation currently requires that particular care made to limit the visibility of development from scenic and rural roads. 3, the commission finds that the timing of this petition is concurrent with the update of the POCD, which has been underway for several months. The commission acknowledges the applicant's petition, however, does not seek to make further amendments to the Plan Development District, Section 32, until additional public outreach and community involvement is gained through the planning update process. The commission encourages the applicants to actively participate in this process.
Thank you, Janet. Second,
I'll second.
any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands.
Aye.
John, or you're in favor, okay. It's unanimous. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda.
31 Stony Lane, 6-lot subdivision within open space conservation district.
Okay.
And we can go for it, I tell you.
Good evening. Chuck Mandel, agent for the applicant. I'm gonna forego the whole speech. If you want to hear it again, but the parcel address is 31 Stony Lane. It's located at the intersection of Stony Lane and Fort Path. It's 5.82 acres. 2.91 acres is going to be dedicated to open space. That's just over 50%. They are proposing 6 residential lots on the site. The lots have all been tested by the Madison Health Department. We did extensive soil testing. We have B100A approval. We do have a positive wetlands referral from Madison Wetlands Commission. We did a traffic study, which was also favorable. And that's pretty much it. You want to hear, if you have any questions, I'll answer them.
Originally, wasn't it, we're gonna have like 13?
12.
Yeah.
Which is why it was Barberry 12 LLC.
Ah.
But it
A
got
little premature there.
Okay.
Just to keep the name.
You're a good sport about it.
It's like the Big Ten.
There you go.
My 4
There
boys,
you
I
go.
got it on my 2
Yeah.
boys and a girl, I mean, that's.
Yeah. It's adjacent to Barberry Farm. It's just to the north there. And this is the entire open space area, which will be going to stay some other entity besides the Madison Land Conservation Trust.
Got it, thank you.
I've walked the property, it's magnificent. It's so beautiful, being able to see the farm, the back of the farm, and it's just really pretty looking out at the neck road.
And the neck river.
This is the record.
Any other comments, questions? No, it's not a public hearing, that's right. Okay, then, could I have a motion to approve?
Oh, make a motion. Oh, no, again. Oh, just hearing my voice.
Come on, you're the pro here.
Voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approve application 2347 31 Stony Lane, map 36, lot 25-2, zone R1, owner Barberry 12 LLC, applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates. 6-lot subdivision within open space conservation district as shown in an open subdivision map. Open space conservation district subdivision plan for residences at Barberry, 31 Stony Lane and Fort Path Road, Madison, Connecticut. Prepared by Thomas A. Stevens and Associates Incorporated, dated July 21st, 2023. Revised to October 31st, 2023 with the following conditions. The open space area shall be protected in perpetuity with the conservation easement as prescribed in section 27 of the Madison zoning regulation. This conservation easement and maintenance plan shall be filed on the land records at the time of filing the record subdivision map. The effective date of this approval shall be December 14th, 2023, and upon filing of the record subdivision map.
Second,
I'll second it.
and any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Last but not least.
All right. 23-52, 1320 Boston Post Road. Map 31, lot 44, zone C.
Thanks.
Owner, applicant 1320 Boston Post Road Associates Realty LLC. Site plan modification and coastal site plan application for a 20-foot by 30-foot tent within the existing parking lot for outdoor dining.
This is Donahue.
Yes.
Yes, it's Donahue. Thank you.
I have Dave Donahue.
Totally seen you inside.
I know.
Thank you for,
They let me out to come visit.
thank you for lasting through the whole meeting.
Oh, it's interesting.
Do you want to add anything else as the applicant, or Erin, do you want to pull up the?
Yes,
Plan.
so I'll give.
So it's what's already there, right?
Yes, we had,
Just
it was
making it-
COVID and then we put it up in March and then in April, it was like, gotta get, we didn't realize, but now it's time to get a permanent.
This is a permanent structure.
Right.
Yeah, well, no, it's not permanent.
It's seasonal.
It's seasonal. So we've
Yes.
already taken it down for the season. We put it back up in March.
So if we apply, what you're saying. okay.
No,
No?
so what happened was during COVID, there were executive orders that allowed
Oh,
outdoor
yeah.
dining as, it was administrative. And so that language then got inserted into the statutes, however, we had to formalize.
I
This
see.
is a formalizing the approval for outdoor dining.
I see.
And so as part of that, Dave worked with the health department, they have enough septic capacity to accommodate the
Accommodate.
inside seats and the outside seats. Their parking is accommodated, they do have a lease for parking on the property to the south as well. It's a site plan modification technically, but they're also located in the coastal zone, so that triggers a coastal site plan application. But what's nice is there's no site disturbance. It's
Correct.
existing bituminous parking lot. And the tent itself will just be secured with sandbags and there's no
For the season.
there's no disturbance, and the closest coastal resource, it's about 200 feet from the closest flood hazard area and about 1,000 feet from the closest, resource, which would be tidal wetlands over at Hemnes. So,
Some distance.
no anticipated coastal impacts, with this project, and it does comply with zoning.
For all of those reasons, could I have a motion to approve? Unless there's further.
The only recommended condition would be that there be no live outdoor entertainment included at this time.
So we approve as long as no live outdoor entertainment.
Can we discuss?
You can discuss it.
We were doing so well.
Did I get a second?
No. Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good plan.
I'll write that.
And do we have it?
Yeah,
There is something.
there is something.
You get to read it.
Yeah.
Can we approve it, Erin, as we just said, everything that you said?
Can we, we have to add it in the record? Can we say it's written?
Yes, you can. The two conditions were the live, no live outdoor entertainment.
Is included in this approval. 2, the applicant shall maintain appropriate protection of the dining area from vehicular traffic.
All
Good.
right.
Second? Yes. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thanks for hanging with us.
Thanks for your patience, Dave.
Educational, you're educational.
Appreciate it, yeah. They don't have to do it.
Thank you.
And you're not gonna have to pay too much of our.
We'll see.
They're gonna go broke at the Oyster House.
Be sharing with them.
Oh,
No, that's the best touch.
yeah.
Best job.
All right, upcoming. Erin, I've forgotten if we already scheduled these public
Thank you, Dave.
hearings. We already scheduled these, so we don't need a motion for that.
That's correct. Yes, both public hearings are already scheduled.
So we can move
Nothing
on
to do there, just minutes.
approval of minutes,
Minutes?
Secretary Duca?
Sure, November 2nd meeting, members present, Snow, Duzer, Reinhardt, Peckinpah, O'Connor, Downs, Morgan, and Bugda. Motion to approve. Jim? No. Second? I'll second. Any comments?
I have one little niggly typo. In the first paragraph under the section 1, it said built-in environment as opposed to built environment.
Okay.
Minor.
So should be built.
Should be built, not built in. Thank you.
Anything else?
Good.
Okay.
Chilly out
Vote to approve? All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Unanimous. Thank you. Next, November 11th, site walk.
These were
Members,
complicated.
do we have to approve this? Members
Sorry.
present, Snow, Juza, Morgan, Bug, Peckinpah, and also Aaron Mannix. Motion to approve. Dana, second. Carol, any comments?
Couldn't find any typos.
Concise
Thanks for
and,
trying.
concise and correct. Vote to approve, all in favor?
Thank you. Okay, remarks. I actually wanted to make a few remarks just quickly that with Thanksgiving next week, I want to say thanks to everybody. For sure. I really appreciate it. I don't know why, but I was obsessed with how much we had to get through tonight. And so I counted how many documents were on file. There were 93 documents on file to prepare for tonight's meeting, plus 10 more from you, Aaron, at 5 o'clock. So I just want
We
to
did
say,
really well. Aaron.
thanks
Thank
for
you.
all the hard work, especially people.
I saw that
who-
email last minute. That was
I
great.
feel badly that we didn't see,
Right?
that we didn't get to see the other documents, that were sent over to us.
Yeah.
I feel badly that we still have.
I still thought it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was.
That we
It
could
was.
move forward
It
and
was.
no urgency really there either. Aaron, okay, over to you. Any comments?
No, I agree. I think that was good. No, I have no comments.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Jeff, thank you. Raquel, thank you. Good
Yes.
night.
Good night,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Raquel.